Thanks guys for tuning in to watch this. I apologize for the technical issues that we have with this. There's a lot of information that we're going to present in this. It's a video about how to fix your SRAM hydraulic road and cyclocross, basically road series brakes. It's a lot of good information. We had to shoot it twice, and even then it's still what it is. We're trying something a little bit different. So thanks for watching and sticking with it. If you do like it, please hit subscribe and subscribe to our channel. We're always putting out information that should help both the home mechanic, but mostly also the pro mechanic. So thanks again. Alright, hi guys, it's Rob from SIMET once again. We're going to talk about an issue that has come up quite often with SRAM hydraulic disc brake systems that we utilize on the road for road and cyclocross, basically with the road levers. It's an issue that comes up quite often. Most mechanics, when they encounter it and call up SRAM right now is usually just warrantying the product, so you have to pull it and send it in. Well, that's great for a lot of people. Some of the drawbacks are sometimes it happens on a brand new bike, even if it hasn't been ridden yet before. And the big kicker is it keeps you from being able to get the customer and the rider out that same day and back out riding. We found a couple common issues that keep popping up that end up causing the problems, and what we're going to do is talk a little bit about how those are actually fixed. So first things first, obviously whenever you're working with SRAM hydraulic systems, always use gloves. It is .5.1 fluid, and it tends to be not something you want to dip your hands in. Same with the grease that we end up using, and so on and so forth. So one of the big ways that this problem articulates or ends up coming to a head is, you can grab the brake, depress it, return it, and then there's play. There's a lot of play in the lever itself. And so basically that master cylinder piston, and master cylinder assembly is not returning back to where it's supposed to. Not only that, it could also be the pistons themselves are sticking in the caliper. That happens quite a bit as well too. So either the pistons and or the seals in both the master cylinder as well as the caliper end up sticking. So the general process that we do is flip over the bike, we're going to gut the handle, we'll pull the master cylinder out, we will clean it to within an inch of its life, and then use SRAM's Avid dot grease for assembly of brakes. You really want to make sure you use gloves with that. It is an irritant, but this is what will keep those seals floating freely. So general process, we work on the lever first, then we pop out both pistons, or don't pop them out, but we slide them out so we can clean the edges of them and apply some grease around the outside of the pistons, and then push them back into the board. And then once all that is said and done, we have to bleed the system with a normal SRAM bleed, and that solves the problem 99% of the time. Other times that we've run into issues where we need more digging, we will find that there's a bladder inside. The bladder will either be folded over on itself, it won't be fully sealed against the edge of the housing for it, and or there's missing or folded O-ring either in the top of the bleed port or in the banjo connector inside of the handle itself. I've seen all of those in brand new setups, so straight from the factory, as well as on ones that have been ridden for a while. So just things that do pop up, so other things to look for if you run into it. So to start off, we're going to go ahead and flip over the system. This is where having a holder like this here bell, if that's how you pronounce it, comes in really nice. It holds the frame, holds it with non-marring components, so it's easy to flip over, easy to gain access to. And we're working on the shifting side. Process is the same whether it's a shift side or not. I'm going to peel back the hood so that we can see what we're dealing with here. Get up a little higher, maybe. Now, In here, we've got a couple key components. What you're looking at is basically going to be, this is a stroke adjuster or push rod assembly that I'm pointing to now. That actually pushes against the master cylinder and allows the brake lever actuation to, put pressure into the system by actuating the master cylinder. There is a E-clip back here that we have to gain access to the edge of to be able to push off from the assembly. So first things first, what I typically do is I take a visual inspection of the gap between the blade and the shift lever so that I can set the reach for the assembly back to the same position when I'm done. Then pull back the shift lever, insert a 2.5 millimeter Allen, and we're going to screw it down or in to the lever. By doing so, we're opening up the reach that we have and allowing ourselves access to the rest of the assembly. So we pop it off there. I'm going to let the E-clip fall down, hopefully out of the way, so that we can get the rest of this assembly apart. Alright. Now if that's backing out of the way, you can push this axle through. You should be able to remove it by hand or with hand pressure. You might have to wiggle the blade of it so that everything lines up, as long as that clip is no longer in the way. Okay, I want you to take a moment to note the spring orientation. The long part of this arm is faced towards the inside of the bike, so we're going to remember to put it back in that configuration when we close it. Cover the top so the spring doesn't spring out. Now, the only thing holding this lever in here is this push rod assembly, or push rod. I'm just going to screw it through. So continue to push it through in a clockwise manner. Until it fully unthreads. Fully unthreads, you can bring the whole assembly up and you've just got your push rod sitting there. So pull it out. Want to make sure to find that clip. Do we have it in there? See, that's it sitting in the back. There's my magnet. Pull that out of there so we make sure that we have it. So it's just an external retaining clip, pretty common. Now the only thing holding us back from the master cylinder right behind is this plate here. So we have a little screw, just regular old Phillips. It's a plastic screw, one with a plastic thread, meaning not an actual screw made of plastic, but hopefully you know what I mean. Pull that out. And then we can hook this plate. It's held underneath this roll pin back here, tension pin. So we need to pull it forward so that it can pop out. So we're going to pull it forward. There we go. So then it comes out. As you can see, this is what the push rod looks like. See all the contamination near it and around it? That's from racing cyclocross. So we're going to clean all that gunk up, but this crud, whatever it is also what's getting into that master cylinder and kind of gumming it up. So as you look, the master cylinder already popped out, which is a good sign. Normally they're stuck in there and you have to pry them out or put pressure into the system by putting it in through one of the bleed ports. But this one's already popped up, so all we're going to do is pry it out. Pry is a general term. We're just going to lift it up, really. Not going to get the seal in there. We're just going to pull up on the piston. There we go. There's a whole assembly. So as of right now, SRAM does not offer these up as replacements. They, like I said, they've been warrantying them. But a quick check on the big distributor that we all know by the name of Q, and they have this part number listed as soon to be available. So you will be able to buy replacements. But if you look, you see how dry this external seal is. It isn't necessarily supposed to be, you know, doesn't cause a lot of movement in it, but it does have to move back and forth. So if it's binding, that's usually where it's happening. Also, I seem to find what tends to happen is if you pull off this, you have to get past this O-ring and these two Teflon seals here. This ring here, if you notice, I'm having a hard time pulling it off this center part. It tends to want to hang up there, going over that shoulder. So what I like to do is we're going to clean everything out, and then we're going to lubricate, put some of this grease on the inside there as well as along both of these seals, and make sure that they float fairly well over them. The systems we work on have been raced pretty heavily and used in adverse conditions, so we tend to see this fairly often. It is happening all over though on these systems, and I have people telling me that they've had it happen on brand new assemblies that were on OEM built bikes right out of the box. So it's really a matter of how long they've been sitting and how much lubrication was used in the factory when they assembled them. A lot of people like to say it's because they're silicone or the .5 fluid, and that the seals are swelling regardless of what anybody wants to say. I won't disagree with that, but you know, I know a few SRAM engineers and they're smart people, so I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt here. Alright, so we take some of this dot fluid, or grease, I'm sorry. I like to use an acid brush. Don't use much, but I'm going to put it on the center of the master cylinder push rod here, our actuating piston and rod. Gonna make sure that the seal slides over it easily, which it does now. Gonna make sure it's on the central O-ring here. Don't want a ton of it. Okay, so through the miracle of editing, we've got that clean, lubricated. We're going to reinsert it back into the handle. And for some reason now I'm going to find the simplest part of this to be extremely difficult. There we go. So now that's in there, we notice it's popping up and down, it's pumping fluid, all good to go. This plate back in place. What I like to do is I like to put the push rod on top of the master cylinder, depress it, so basically tell it about our economy, and then drop this plate back down, if I can. Pull the shift lever out of the way while holding it down. You can traditionally get underneath it, pull it forward, and drop it underneath that roll pin in the back if the bike is squirreling away from me. Just like that. So it's dropped in. You want to make sure Once again, that plate is behind that tension pin in the back before you screw it down. That screw back in place. And really all this plate's doing is keeping that master cylinder from popping out and keeping this push rod assembly from becoming disoriented or malaligned. Now I'm going to run that master cylinder in and out a few times just to make sure everything's working smoothly before I put the lever assembly back together. For the lever assembly, I like to stick the wrench through first, pull the shift lever out of the way, get the Allen in the, this is a 2.5 millimeter Allen too, by the way. Make sure it's ready to go and lined up. And we're going to, you're going to screw it counterclockwise to have it come up and through this blade. And you see the blade starting to come back, you know we're in the right spot. I still want a lot of working room, so I'm going to leave it down and open like that. Make sure it's flush with the other end. You should see your E-clip groove on the other side. There we go. Got it back in one piece. Now, next step in this process, we're done with the lever. Next step in this process is going to be to hit the pistons. As you notice, we've already removed the brake pads, which you always want to do whenever you're working with the system. You don't want to get fluid all over the place. We're going to then, basic process is we're going to push one of these pistons out a little bit. You don't want to blow it past the seal. If you do, you're going to have to replace the seal, rebuild the caliper. It's not a lot of fun. Easy to do, and you can get the parts for it. But in general, we're going to get the piston out a little bit. We're going to put some grease along the edge of it, clean it off, get some grease along the edge of it, push it back in, and then pop the other one out. Before we do anything, I'm going to go ahead and clean what I can out of there for dirt. Quite simply using rubbing alcohol. I always say drag a rag. So we got most of the contaminant out of there. Still going to be some. Now, most of you that have done a lot of bleeding are familiar with the SRAM bleed blocks. This is a style they have for the road systems. Solid on one side, and it's got these two blades on the other side. They can squish together, give you a little bit of brake feel when you're actually setting it up. What we tend to do then is we take one, we cut off one of the legs. Not because we're sadistic, but because it'll actually help us with this next part. So I normally do this from the other side. Let's see if I can do it from down here. It doesn't look like I can. I gotta do it from up top. So we're gonna back it out a little bit so you can see it. I can't see, so Anthony, you're gonna have to tell me when to stop. But
We're gonna hold this in place, we're gonna squeeze the lever a little bit, and it should start to push that cylinder out, or that piston out. Yes?
A little bit. Keep going. A little more.
Good?
No, need more. Keep coming. No more. We got a couple millimeters showing right now.
I don't have enough fluid in the system to do it. Yeah, I'm not getting enough in there. So what I'm actually going to do is pull the bleed port, and I'm actually going to use a syringe with fluid to push the piston out. Alright, unlock that. Put some pressure in the system with the syringe, and that piston will slowly walk its way out to about there is good. All I'm going to do is clean off the edges lightly, nothing major. I'm not going to use any cleaning fluid, although you could use rubbing alcohol. Take a little bit of this dot grease once again. Try to get the edges. Once I've done that, I'm going to push the cylinder or piston back into the caliper. And there we go. We see the excess grease piled up on the outside. That's fine. I'm going to then reverse the procedure, block out the other piston, come around here, and push the inside piston out. It's really sticking, but it is coming with some finagling. All right, so we're stopping that before it comes out. We don't want it to come out of the bore. I am going to spray this one down a little. It's really, really, really dry with a little bit of contaminant. Drag a rag. All right. A little bit of grease. Push the piston back, just like that. See how smoothly they now come in and out. They're now doing it with about a quarter the amount of pressure it was taking before. So that's what you want to see. Spraying it down with rubbing alcohol, pulling a rag through there, get rid of the excess grease, just like that. And we're good to bleed. Drop a bleed block in. Most are familiar with how to bleed. Just look up a procedure online. We're probably going to cut it out of here, although we may film it. But get your bleed job done. Because by opening that master cylinder, you have allowed fluid or air into the system. So now you need to purge it. It's also a good opportunity to get rid of the fluid that was in the system as well too, if that is even remotely suspect. Always inspect the O-rings on your port bolts. Replace them as needed. Replacement parts are available. Usually while I'm in here too, I will usually peel this back and check the condition of the shifter as well too. Seems fairly clean, no issues, so I'm not going to spray it out, but you can spray it out with rubbing alcohol, clean it right up. So all back together. Sorry if I seem kind of out of it. It's been a long day of fixing SRAM brakes. But it is cyclocross season. So solid response. I still need to bring this back to where the customer likes it. Bit more of a gap. It's about like that. So now solid actuation throughout. Master cylinder is returning. There's not nearly the kind of play that there was before on the end. You have solid brake response immediately. No compression going back to the bar. A little bit of modulation. Just good to go. So thanks for watching. Hopefully that helps you solve a lot of problems for customers so that you don't have to necessarily warranty the lever, send it back. It is something that can be done very quickly and easily in the shop. We charge appropriately. You know, we charge for just a normal bleed and a little bit extra on top because we are pulling the master cylinder out of the lever itself. This kind of response should work for a long time. So thanks for watching.